Welcome to the richness of our lives. I'm Mary Scott, and this is where we celebrate the wisdom, courage, and stories that shape us. Every 2 weeks, I sit down with entrepreneurs, coaches, and remarkable people who've walked through fire and come out transformed. This isn't just about success, it's about the richness of the human experience. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's dive deep. Welcome to the Richness of Our Lives podcast. I'm your host, Mary Scott. And today our guest is coming to us from Palm Beach in Florida. What a beautiful part of the world. She is a wellness entrepreneur and also the founder of Arrive Yoga and Wellness Center. Please welcome to our podcast, Carly Kasinpila. Hello, Carly. How are you doing today?
Hello, Mary. I am doing wonderful. How are you, dear? It's so
Yeah,
beautiful to be here on your podcast. Thank you. Hello to all your listeners and to all my new listeners. Anybody that's listening, that you have ears. Welcome, welcome to hearing reality. We're about to step into it.
that's right. Yes, and some people are fortunate. This will also be on my YouTube channel, so they get to see a gorgeous face, Carly. So that's a bonus for everyone. Now, one thing you said to me that struck me was everybody is a yoga body. Tell me more about that.
Yes, so every body is a yoga body, and that is something that a phrase that I hold to be true that I believe just compiles all the messages from any spirituality, mind, body, spirit, anything. And let me explain. Because we are all people, right? We're all human beings. We have three bodies. We are made up of our mind, our bodies, and our spirits. And we can all accumulate our minds to a different form of thinking if we want to contribute them to a religious or a spiritual form. Our bodies, we want to contract them to what we most take to a different type of exercise or physical element. And then our spiritual form, that is something very unique to the self. And so the mind, body, and the spirit, we all have as one. And so everybody's a yoga body because everybody has the ability to look inwards to themselves and find through yoga, which is non-discriminatory. Anybody can do it. You can be any shape, any size, any color, any religion, any gender, anything. And it's just a practice that requires nothing but you and your body and the willingness to understand. So every body is a yoga body because we all have the power to change and shape our worlds in the palm of our hands. And that is universal.
Yes, I think that's probably underestimated. That I know as a psychotherapist in my early days, people used to talk about their thinking process as if it was separate to their body. And it always intrigued me when they were talking to me that they felt like they only existed from here up, which think about that visually. It's no wonder we're fundamentally disconnected as we go through life. There's times of great disconnection. I think that now there's a greater sense of, well, hang on a minute. We are all one, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and yet yoga, is it? Do you believe? I mean, I did Bikram yoga very seriously for several years, and I actually hurt my shoulder, so it stopped me kind of, and I moved. So there's a whole lot of things. But what I noticed was that the room was filled with varied and different people. And even though we're in a group, we were there together for ourselves. And it always intrigued me about this is a practice. Tell me what you understand about that term, because a lot of people don't understand it.
That is a great way to feed into this question. Thank you. Yes, so the practice itself, it is a beautiful thing that one can take on their own journey. When you step into a room, any room, may it be a group class of yoga, a restaurant, a simple gathering, or work, you're in a room full of people. You never know what's going on behind someone's closed doors, right? When you go to a wellness space, and yoga particularly, you know that everybody there is there in seek of the same thing relatively to you, to try to gain muscle control, to try to understand the body, to try to, and it's very hard. It's very difficult to sit with that. And so when you look around a room in a yoga studio, there's so many people, women, men, that are all finding themselves, and you don't know what they do for a living. You don't know who they are, what they are, but underneath all of it, somebody is still struggling through something, even if they're doing the perfect pose, even if they can't do the pose. Even myself, some days, as being the professional that I am, some days I can't do what looks like standing on your hands, doing the perfect pose. What perfect is, there is no perfection to yoga. That's what makes it a practice because you're always finding yourself in the practice. You learn new things about yourself and the little nuances in your body. And so, in a group class, through what I've understood, is that the teacher, just like any group exercise class or any school class, like elementary school, middle school, high school, the teacher talks, the students listen. Sometimes the teacher picks on a student and says, "Hey, would you want to answer this question?" I've started the Arrive Yoga method so that I can have students be a part of the practice with their voice whilst doing the class, even if it's a little uncomfortable. And I stop in the moments of discomfort because I find that people are there for a reason. They don't, sometimes you don't know why. And sometimes we are just trying our best every day. And even in a yoga class, something that can be unfamiliar to somebody who says, I'm not flexible. I don't have time. I don't fit into that mold because of the influencing of looking in a certain way. Yoga is for everybody. So coming into a space like mine, I try to invite everybody to be comfortable, to have a voice and integrate, ask questions while doing the practice, which is normally what happens when a one-on-one session happens. So there's a group class you can go to do yoga at a studio, which you pay your monthly price, which is also integrative, or you can do a private one-on-one, you get that one-on-one. I created the Arrive Yoga method so I can invite people to have a conversation, just like you do when you go to the therapist, right? Like therapy is talk therapy. You go to a spiritual counseling, whether you believe in whatever religion you believe in, you talk to that higher power, that person, and that's your spiritual connection. And that's your spirituality. So the mind, and then there's the body, and the body needs a professional fitness instructor, somebody to really talk to you about your nutrition, your weight. Yoga does all of that for you. And sometimes people just need to express themselves inside the space. So that's why I created what I have.
And have you found people find their voice quicker in that environment, or? are they still reticent? Because I know, and I run coaching groups. Some people will sit there for several weeks and then one day they'll find their voice and they'll be up and running. How does it work in your classes? Do you find that?
I find that I guess it really is everybody's journey. I'm still developing the method. I have an upcoming yoga retreat that I am hosting in Costa Rica that I'm taking and I'm utilizing the art of arrival and utilizing the method. And it's still something that I am growing and trying to teach to train. But my background from my voice comes from a very special place that I know. If we want to talk about it, I can explain why. But everybody has a voice. Sometimes it's hard to express ourselves, right? Like we don't always know what we're saying sometimes, even when we do. Even the most professional people. And I, as a practitioner of yoga, someone who believes strongly in in wanting to create a narrative that is congruent and flows and helps. Sometimes we have to help ourselves first. We have to love ourselves first. And so through yoga as practice, I have found that there is a way to be able to even fall out of your practice and come back into it and still be okay with not being okay. So I think that's the fundamental thing is that life is challenging. No matter who you are, no matter what it looks like, whether you have millions of dollars or $0, financial, like fundamental physical relationship, however you want to categorize it, there is the love of power versus the power of love. And in yoga, in my practice, I have found the way to be able to help people who have either the most clue or no clue at all. And sometimes I'm learning from every one of my students, and it's a blessing.
Absolutely. I know that to be true. So many wonderful learnings from my clients as well. You mentioned self-love, and yet what I hear from many years of being on this planet is that it doesn't always occur. It's like when someone mentioned to me about loving myself, and that was years ago, I was like, wow, that's a bit novel, because it's spoken about a lot more now. But what does that actually mean? And what's your experience of people being able to love themselves first? Because I often find it the other way round, that we jump into relationships, we start loving this person, we don't always love ourselves, and then it gets a bit messy because quite often this is where we need to start. What's your experience of that?
That's a great question, and it is a hard thing to accomplish. It's almost like what I believe should be on the top of somebody's resume. You know, when you go apply for a job and you have all of these skills and you can do all of these amazing things. You went to this college, you went to that thing, but I think mindfulness and self-love should be on the top of a resume because I think that feeds into everything. And how do you do that, right? What does that look like? That takes a lot of really self-reflection and deciding what are my needs? What do I what do I feel attracted to? Whether it be art, whether it be science, whether it be math. How do I feel about my myself, my body? Sometimes people don't always love the way that we look. Let's be honest. Not everyone is fond of their own body. That's easy to look at yourself and say, I don't like this thing or that thing. To find that self-love, to be okay with who you are, where you are, but not to neglect and say, okay, just because I am this way oh, it's okay. You need to push a little further and go for trying to exercise and learn techniques and take in these abilities. Now, sometimes, often, the accessibility to these things like going to a yoga class like mine, or going to that fitness studio, or taking that course, or doing Pilates, or if we're talking about exercise or certain things, sometimes they're not accessible to people. And that's the unfortunate part of like the disconnect. And so the mindset, it has to step back to the mindset as being okay with where you are. So self-love, that is a ongoing journey that even I've battled with. I recently lost my father, and it has made me question things about myself. Everybody loses something. You lose a little piece of yourself every day. I've lost partners. Right now, I'm currently married, thankfully, but um, not always have I loved every part of me. It's about learning how to accept the things that you cannot change, I guess, so much. So through yoga, it's about, I guess, we walk on our 2 feet every day, right? And no matter who you are, what you're doing, even if you have one leg, 2 legs, some people don't have legs, but you still got to get where you're going. And to acknowledge that you have a body, that your feet take you there, that your arms, your legs, your mouth, your voice gets you your what you need, which are the resources, the roof over your head, the food in your belly, the water, the electricity, the foundation, the necessities if you need a car, everything that you do stems from your body, your capabilities. And when you start to recognize every part of your body, it's like affirmation, it manifests. So loving yourself is kind of like really difficult. But it takes like recognizing, like, I want to choose to try to love myself. And then all of a sudden you start trying, you look in the mirror, you're like, oh my goodness, what did I just look at? Who is this person? And then you're like, wait, that's me. That was me all along. I just was looking from a different lens. And if you start looking a little deeper and you start doing practices like yoga, learning asanas, which are movement, breathing techniques, karma yoga, being giving and receiving, and understanding that everybody is equal, even when we have different bank accounts, we have different skin colors, we have different genders. Everybody's here, we're all together, we're all on this planet. Yoga becomes a way of life that allows the self to love itself even in the darkest moments, which I struggle with too. But I find that's the best thing I've ever done.
How did you get into the art of yoga, I'm going to call it? What was the path that took you there, Carly?
So I started my practice. Actually, I took my first yoga class with my mother, actually, when I was in high school here in Florida. But I moved to Los Angeles in my first semester of college. I started at UCF and I thought I wanted to be in the entertainment business because I am a singer and I play the piano. I grew up in entertainment. Um, as I was speaking with my father, he is the founding father of karaoke in America.
Wow.
He had the first license to mass manufacture karaoke equipment CDs all throughout the United States, my dad. And he recently passed away, so he's here with me now. But I grew up in a world of music and people trying to do things that just because karaoke, like, it's about singing, but it's not about being famous. He actually used to work for Elvis Presley, my dad. And he found the karaoke machine. He found a way for people to have a voice, not to be famous. I went out to LA with my ex at the time, and I got an internship working at a casting agency because I wanted to help people get work in roles. I wanted to be behind the scenes. And my ex at the time, he wanted to be a music producer. We had built a soundproof studio in the middle of our apartment. And I saw the beautiful but the ugly side of people all in the same industry trying to be the best, but not everybody can be number one. Right across the street from my apartment between Sunset and Hollywood Boulevard was this amazing yoga studio. I started working there and I took class before and after work, and I just fell in love with being a part of people just going to better themselves. And I had actually met this woman who she had this glow about her that I was like, oh my God, if I could have that glow, I will forever be excited to just be like, giving that back. And ever since that day, that was back in 2015, I continued my yoga journey, teaching, managing studios, living in ashrams, managing yoga teacher trainings, working with corporate elevations, opening spaces, and teaching so many amazing people of all ages. And it's really been just such a beautiful journey because I get to see people, they come to me at their lowest sometimes. Even there's advanced people, there's people that are trying, there's people that they've got no clue. I've taught some people at an Office Depot one time. These two gentlemen, they came up to me. They saw my art. So I was printing out art for some Christmas gifts. I was
Yeah.
making things, and they were like, "Oh, I love your art." I was like, "Do you know how to touch your toes?" I know, but two new clients. These these dark-skinned
Fascinating.
gentlemen. And just people, all these nice people all over, just wanting to learn how to understand themselves.
That's
It's
right.
really
And it has to start somewhere. And I love what you're saying. You went across the road, you took a job, and then the job was not doing yoga, but you be started it, and then you saw the woman with the glow. And I think that's a very good point because there's usually someone in our life along this journey that we see and we go, I want to have something of what they've got. And that in itself is quite compelling because it pushes us forward. Well, it does me anyway. I want to know more. I want to know what is it that they have that I can have. And here you are now. It's interesting, isn't it? Your background, music, art, and yet my limited knowledge of yoga is it's an art in itself.
it is because it doesn't have to be like doing every amazing posture. Like there's goals, obviously, right? To take the practice deeper and really understand. But yoga in itself, I think, starts at the foundation and finding your voice, finding just stepping onto your mat. That's the first step. Just like going to the gym,
Yes.
right? And yoga, you could take with you anywhere. You don't need a mat. You could have a mat, but any exercise, if you want to run, you need a street. If you want to lift weights, you need weights. If you want to do Pilates, you need things. Yoga, you can do literally, I could do it right here, right now. And I need nothing but myself. And that's what's great about it, is because it is for everybody. It looks intimidating because look at all the cool poses that we can do, and it looks so just organic because wow, look at her body or his body. But it's honestly, it's very humbling when we just try like what looks, if you like take a look at someone doing something very, I could give you an example. looks easy to me is somebody else so difficult. But what's easy for an expert is hard for somebody else. I say this all the time to someone very near and dear to me who is also a business mentor. Like I teach math, I teach business concepts. This just comes off the top of my brain, right? But imagine, I mean, someone doing construction, they're just like, oh yeah, like I could just build this thing. And like I'm like, what? How? For them, it's second nature.
That's right.
For me, I could never. But yoga, I can do it. I'm 5 foot tall. I just had the willingness to try. And I had somebody that inspired me, or I gave myself the push. It's sometimes just about like letting yourself be open to trying something. And I mean, if you don't love it, it won't, it's not going to kill you, right?
That's right. I think what you're saying is, and I always say this with people that I'm coaching, being willing is part of it. If you're willing, I actually think you can do anything you like if you're willing. Just take that first step and continue in willingness. And,
Yeah,
there's another saying, I said it to someone yesterday and it's reminded me again now, everything is easy if you know how. You might say to someone, "Oh, it's quite easy." It's like, hang on a minute, it's easy for you because you've been doing it, but hang on, I'm back here. And it always is easy when you know how, but it's being willing to step in for it to become easy. And business is exactly the same.
right.
Kind
Exactly.
of cool when you think of it that way.
Absolutely. In the business of holistic medicine, of alternative practices, and anything in this nature, it is hard to be a yoga teacher these days or be a teacher of any capacity and think about economically and how the strain of creating these lessons and having people really be receptive and financially and all of these things come into play.
Mm.
And with I think this practice, it helps because I know all the years teaching yoga in itself, or any fitness instructor, any teacher, professor, anybody coaching, it is hard to know that you have all this knowledge. Like you have intellect, and then you have knowledge, and you turn it into wisdom, and then you really have something that you want that you can share that is something. But these days, there's so much information and how to make that information accessible, downloadable, and really make it that you can have a following because these days everybody has access to everything. I think the important part of all of it is not just to be the next best number one, right? Because I would love to have my message be heard, but the point is for the message to be a good message. And the more people that are spreading, speaking up for themselves and being authentic and being okay to not be okay, being okay to try, showing that they have grown, seeing that they have failures, even being a little bit weird. That's the beauty of it, is that not everybody, no matter what you look like, everybody has a past before they became whatever it is they are now. Everybody has got a future. Everybody's got their present. We never know what goes on behind closed doors. And I always say, like when you go to sleep, when you close your eyes, like you see like the blackness, like there's darkness, right? And that's for everybody across the board. When you open your eyes up, there's light. What you do with that light, that's up to you. So that is congruent no matter who you are, what you are. And so that every body is a yoga body because to think for yourself and question everything, to be the change you wish to see in the world is really just kind of a motto that I have. And I believe that the more people that have conversations like this and are just, okay with accepting that we have the power to change and shape our world in the palm of our hands. So
Absolutely. I
yeah,
like what you're saying. I think in a world where people are pathologized and labeled big time, I am still curious about encouraging everyone that I meet just to be themselves. Because when you think about it, it makes for a better world. Don't be that label or pathologize and stay in this box, because someone said, this is what you are. I think someone said to me one day about a month ago, you're a bit quirky, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, I've never had that term used, but I kind of liked it because I thought, yeah, I probably am. I'm my own person. I'm comfortable in my own skin. And for me, my passion has always been to help people to keep evolving into who they want to be and be true to themselves. And that's what you're saying. And you're also saying it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, there's a place here in the practice of Arrive Yoga, which is lovely because that means that even if I feel a bit awkward, I might open the door and see, if it's okay in my awkwardness, because that's what you're saying. I notice you're saying that's hard, that's hard. And I think it is, but in the right environment, suddenly that's hard becomes, oh, I could give this a go.
precisely.
Rather beautiful, isn't it? It's about giving permission to others to be the same. And I believe the way we do that is to be ourselves first, because then you see, oh, right, that that's all right. I could do that. And then you just keep doing more of that, which is, I suppose, then you start looking at modeling. And I imagine you're modeling for your students, and they in turn are modeling back to you. It's a two-way street, isn't it?
It is. I learned a lot from my students. I've had students of all ages, young and even in their 70s, 80s, like all ages. And I model myself, actually do like fashion runway modeling. And I actually integrate the Arrive yoga method and like giving arrival talks before I work with other models before they go out onto the runway. And I try to give these inspirational talks and just remind people like that we're all human, even if you are putting on a costume, or even if you are working at a very high level, like, oh my goodness, like there's a lot of pressure on you if you're, because I'm a licensed accountant. I work with business owners. I do business consulting. There's a lot of pressure in different areas. Reminding people that they're human and like letting them like, hey, remember your feet. Sounds kind of silly, but sometimes we're so in our head because there's a lot of pressure because we take that money home to our families. We have that promotion coming up, or maybe the company shifting, or maybe there's so many things going on in the world right now. There always will be. And just reminding people, hey, you're human before they step into something. It kind of like that reminds people to like inhale and exhale, which should be just naturally done. We're always breathing, right? Like breath
Hopefully we
is
are.
right. That's what we're supposed to do is breathe. Like we don't even
Yes.
realize we're doing it.
Yeah,
And like remind people like, hey, like take a breath. And sometimes it just changes. I see some people's faces, even if I'm not teaching them a whole class. And that's the beautiful part about what I do is seeing the difference in like I sometimes I'm so aware to the point that it can be annoying. Some people they're like not really asking for it. But I care. I just care so much. I think I got that from my mom. Yeah.
that's lovely. Yes, I think sometimes that poking is Well, I think in a bit of poking, it's like if you poke an egg hard enough, it cracks open and you see the beauty of how did this miracle happen? And I think we're the same. And we have to have, I'm a bit of a poker myself with my background as a psychotherapist. And it's a beautiful thing because what you do is help people to emerge. I keep talking about this evolving, emerging, I'm noticing, but there's so much more of us that we haven't seen yet. And if we can do a bit of poking and a bit of prodding and someone emerges from that space, it's truly a wonderful, wonderful moment, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I many clients that I can say have come back to me after years and thanked me very warmly for things I didn't know how I really changed
Gosh.
them in those days. And my favorite client of all time was he was 76 years old right before COVID happened. He was bound for a wheelchair and he needed somebody to help him. He invited me to have private sessions with him, and he had his groceries come on like the same day that I was there because he also like that was getting Instacart. He was a very successful man. His children were out and his wife had passed away and he needed a private instructor, and I'm teaching him just very simple things for him was very, very difficult. And after a few months of working together, the groceries he had tried to put away, there was a specific bottle of apple juice that he felt so embarrassed that he couldn't put it away. And I was like, I'm putting this in your fridge for you. So it was very difficult for him. And after working with him for 3 months, he was standing taller. And he had ordered on our last day together a knock at the door at the end of our class, a delivery, a bottle of apple juice. And he went and put it in the fridge just to show me that he
Yes.
could do something so simple for some people, putting something in the fridge. For him, this very successful man, he did not think he was going to be able to stand straight again. And he never had somebody really take the time to be patient with him. And it was, for me, I'm advanced, right? I can do all these crazy things. He just needed very gentle, but also it was painful for him at his age, but he needed somebody to work through the pain with him and talk about it while it was happening. And like be able to be raw and be like, it's okay. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
like like as a daughter or someone would be when you're in those stages of your life. And I do that for people all the time, and it's really eye-opening. And I also love that too because I see some people it's yoga. When we talk about yoga, like I said, yoga could be standing on your hands, standing on your head, doing all these crazy things. For that
Yes.
gentleman, it was just like doing these few things and wow. And that touched my heart. That was in the beginning of my career. And so to this day, still my favorite person.
Yeah, it's a good story. We're about to finish. Is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with? Is there a phrase or something that you love that you'd like to impart today?
Um, I believe I have mentioned this before, but um, so my if you want to go to my webpage, it will be launched for my upcoming yoga retreats, everybodysyogabody.org. And as well to think for yourself and question everything to be the change you wish to see in the world. I have an upcoming yoga retreat hosted in Costa Rica at Amante Resort. It's a 5-day elemental awakening experience, working through earth, water, fire, and air. And I'd love to invite anybody that would like to join. I've put my heart and soul into this experience, and Thank you for having me so much. My name is Carly Kasinpila. The light in me respects and honors the light in you.
You're very
Um,
welcome. And we will certainly put all your details with this podcast so people can reach out to you, Carly. Thank you for your time. Thank you for showing possibilities are really quite endless. You have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Mary. Same to you.
Thank you for joining us on the richness of our lives. If today's conversation stirred something in you, I'd love to hear about it. Connect with me on social media, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are ready to step into your own bold journey, join our vibrant Cheer Squad. We meet weekly for coaching and connection. Until next time, continue to embrace the richness of your life. I'm Mary Scott, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.